Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ease India's webinar today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good late evening, depending on wherever you're joining us from. It's good to see you all joining in. Okay, we have participants joining us in the room. Okay, we have several now. Um, So welcome to today's Ease India webinar. I'm Anita Nagarajan. I serve as chair of Ease India, the Indian regional chapter of Ease. Um, and I'm very happy to welcome you all today, along with our speaker, Sabuj Bhattacharyya. Ease India supports scholarly publishing and science editing efforts in India under the global vision of ease. And we provide a platform to connect different stakeholders in the scholarly publishing landscape. We identify region-specific needs, local issues, barriers, challenges, discuss potential paths that may serve as actions, positive actions, and solutions. And we also adapt, or implement solutions for our community, tying in with these vision and in collaboration with other EASE regional chapters. Today's session is a part of our webinar and training series that we periodically host on topics of interest to our community. So I'm very happy to welcome Sabuj Bhattacharyya. He is Research Ethics and Integrity Officer at BRIC-inStem, which is the Institute for Stem Cell Science and Regenerative Medicine in Bangalore, India. He works extensively in research and ethics integrity and also has training and work experience in ecology and population genomics. Welcome, Sabuj. To add a personal note, I met him last year at I listened to his talk as part of a panel discussion at a conference organized by the Science Journalists Association of India in Ahmedabad University last year. And the topic was on research integrity issues and how journalism can address those or bring them to the fore. And then I connected with Sabuj after the event, and then we discussed some topics of common interest to Ease India and the work that he does. And then I invited him, and we're very grateful, Sabuj, for your acceptance. And we look
Thank you.
forward to your session today. The topic for today is ethical challenges in maintaining research integrity in the age of GenAI, something we've all encountered, keep encountering, and will probably continue to work with around in the coming days. And no better person right now than Sabuj, who is in the midst of all the action, I think, in India and at conferences with global members of the scholarly publishing community. So with that, I hand it over to you, Sabuj, and we look forward to hearing from you. To let our participants know, we will take questions in the last 10 minutes. Please, you're welcome to stay active in the chat box. Keep posing your questions there, and we will keep track of them and address them towards the end. Welcome, Sabuj. Over to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Ease India and the larger community for inviting me for this talk today. And today, even though I'll be talking about ethical challenges of maintaining research integrity at the age of GenAI, but then I think at the start, I should do the disclaimer that it is such a vast topic. Today, primarily, I'll talk about some of the learnings which we had as a group of research ethics officers and scientists working in research integrity in last 1.5 years during different projects. So I'm hopeful that at the end of the session today, you get some of the learned experience based on the evidences which I'll show regarding ethical challenges. So I did PhD in animal behavior and wildlife biology in India and United States. I studied Pokemons and Pikachus for my PhD. They're called pikas, lives in high altitude Himalaya. And also I studied genomics in India and UK. And I primarily studied climate change. And every step of my study, I had to be mindful about research integrity and regulatory compliances because I had to carry samples outside of India. And so there are multiple different kind of regulation. Later on, I worked with DBT Wellcome Trust India Alliance as a science facilitator, where again I have to be mindful about plagiarism, falsification, fabrication of different kind of data as well as applicants who are applying for the fund to these funding agency. And in 2022, I joined DBT, now known as BRIC, Institute for Stem Cell Science and Regenerative Medicine. So before we launch this particular topic and we start discussing more, I have few questions to ask to better understand our audience. And I'll request Mary to launch the questions or the poll. And this poll will have three different questions. You can add your response regarding how many hours these you've spent every day typically for AI or GenAI. And second question would be related to what are the primary purpose you're using AI or GenAI? And third is, have you encountered any ethical challenges while using AI or GenAI? So I'll just give you 30 seconds or a minute to type down your response, and then we'll move forward. So I understand one of the questions probably you have to type something while you are typing. In the interest of time, I'll just talk about a little bit about our institute. So Research Ethics and Integrity Office is located in Bangalore. However, I work as a part of a large network of institute in the same campus called National Center for Biological Sciences, Tata Institute for Genetic and Society. And I help all of this institute along with their ethics and integrity officers for various different activities, including academic activities where I teach research and publication ethics, fellowship and grant writing to PhD students. We create policies as well as we help our institute leadership to implement policy related to academic integrity. Also, we do documentation of every publications which comes out of our institutes. We also do collaboration around the globe, but I was very mindful doing the collaboration because many of the learning which we generally get from our friends around the world may not be applicable to India because India have a very different culture and different kind of resource and challenges. So we try to learn the best practices around the world. We also do outreach by helping other institutes around the India to design their own research ethics and integrity office, participating in various conferences, creating infographics, as well as participation in policy-driven discussions in India and outside of India. So I'll request Mary, in case we can have the poll now, if it's possible. Yes. So most of the people at least do 50%, at least 1 hour, 50% of the people who did, and primarily writing and editing and literature. So that's the primary reason. And ethical challenges, many people, at least 40% says that they faced it, and 58% says they did not. And then there are long answers. Probably I'll check them a little later. So the people who faced it, they can always add their comments in the discussion or the comments box. And people who did not face, probably it would be a little bit a new learning thing based on what we faced during our tenure as a teacher, because I teach courses, I interact with PhD students regularly. So this is the 4 core values which UNESCO proposed in their 2024 report. The aim of AI systems is good for the humanity, but maintaining human rights and dignity for living a peaceful life, ensuring there is biodiversity and inclusiveness, and of course, be mindful about environment and ecosystem health. However, there are different kind of situation where researchers are in a very in a position that often they do mistakes not knowingly because they are not trained, sometimes knowingly. Here is one of the scenario. For example, a researcher is preparing a manuscript, and to understand and to ensure the manuscript get published in a very good journal, they found another article which is very similar. And what they did is they upload the unpublished manuscript in a GenAI platform, ask the GenAI platform to completely edit to ensure it's fit with the target journal, and they says rewrite the text completely so that it is not detected as plagiarism or and it might be detected as human written. And then submitted the journal this newer version of the article, not the article which they drafted, as their own work. So the bigger question is there any ethical issues? The answer would be there are multiple ethical issues. It is not only limited to the fact that there is misappropriation of the intellectual work, but then each of these articles which get published by different journals have a different type of copyrights. So not necessarily everything which is available online in the public domain are allowed to get uploaded in GenAI platform and consider, because most of these GenAI platforms will consider those articles as their training data set. Of course, there is also generative AI and use of it to bypass academic integrity checks. And also there is a possibility of plagiarism, especially regarding paraphrasing. And if it doesn't get detected appropriately in the journal where they submit it, definitely it is a matter of concern. So therefore, AI is, as Thomas Lancaster, who is a leading scientist in the field of AI from Imperial College, he says using of AI is not a problem, but then many people lack the proficiency of using AI. So therefore, it is important that we know AI enough so that we can use it critically and acknowledge the fact that merely writing or typing down what we want to a chatbot doesn't demonstrate AI expertise. Going forward, I'll give you example just indicating that if you're not mindful, then what will happen? So in Indian context, there are no AI-based laws. However, we have an AI governance framework, which is based on 7 different principles. We start from safety, transparency, and accountability to fairness, ensuring the use of AI doesn't create non-discrimination, does not create privacy and data violations. It ensures the security of the data and use of AI with responsibility. However, most of Indian institutes also do not have these AI platforms, AI guidelines. For example, here there's Indian Institute for Science, Education and Research, Pune, and they are one of the first Indian institute came up with their core principles as well as the guideline to help students to use generative AI, and acknowledging the fact, even though you ask students or researcher not to use GenAI, people are going to use it anyway. So the core principle is acknowledge that it is assistive tools and authors or the users remain fully responsible for their action regarding accuracy, originality, as well as protecting the privacy, and most importantly, accountability primarily lies with the author or the researcher who are using this Gen AI. So they clearly define in their policies what are the acceptable uses, such as for brainstorming, language editing, because in India, most of the Indians, English is not the primary language or the first language. Also, it can be used for code assistance, literature explorations. And while doing so, one have to be mindfully do it, because we have to keep cross-checking what kind of results these AI or GenAIs are giving you. Otherwise, what will happen is there will be different kind of scenario where one person may get accused of doing research misconduct or unethical practice, which includes AI as considered as an author, fabrication of the data. Sometimes the image may get so changed that it actually do not represent the data which is coming through the experiments, and so on and so forth. Now, also there are AI guidelines from different publishers. Here are guidelines, summary of the guidelines from 5 different leading publishers around the world. And most of these guidelines of these publishers, which I'm showing here, is again talk about the author's responsibility, maintain transparency, accuracy, ethical standard. And they primarily allow everybody who is submitting their articles to these journals using of AI for writing assistance, for search and discovery, data analysis, image and figure generation, to certain extent modification. So there are uh, limitations to it. Text generations are always with caution and transparency, but most important factor is disclosure of for what purposes one uses this AI. And what is not allowed is completely utilizing generative AI to create content and submitting that as one person's or as an author's own creation, fabricating and falsifying the data, misrepresenting the images, which is does not supported by the original data, and failure to disclose. In recent past, one of my intern who looked at more than 160 publishing houses AI policy around the globe, and what we found is around 60% or 63% cases, publishing houses has the AI use policy. However, around 40% cases, there is no information about the fact if it's mandatory to acknowledge AI use or disclose it while you are submitting a paper to a particular journal. More than 70% cases, AI policies are only in English. It's not multilingual. More than 50% policy documents do not specify very detailed way to which extent AI can be used for the text and images and video and editing. Many leading journals definitely defined it, but the standard of definition regarding what is allowed, which extent GenAI is allowed for scientific publication is not standardized. For example, many of you may be aware about the fact there is something called credit authorship guideline, which is a very standardized authorship guideline accepted around the world. No such standardized policy we found, which can help us to understand or make a uniform requirement for all the journals to follow. Also, significant amount of the policy do not indicate any information regarding copyright or IP implication in case the authors were submitting their papers to the journal, to the journals are caught violating copyright or IP implications because they have used certain AI certain way. So that means we need a more comprehensive AI use guidelines from publishing houses. Now, going forward, I will be discussing some of the results which we found in one of our last year's paper. This paper is already available online, and then you can check for other sections and recommendations. So GenAI can be used for different kind of purposes for literature review. These are some examples of GenAI platforms. But the questions what we should ask ourselves that every time we do literature review, do you check the information is generated or given to you clearly? What is the quality of the journal they are getting the information from? Are those journals reliable? Are those journal information or the information reliable? Is the reference these platform GenAI platform are giving to you as part of your draft literature review is correct? If there is any hallucination, that requires quite mindful and conscious effort to look at it. I give you an example and where these will help you to understand why we should be mindful about it. We checked as part of that particular exercise, which I said as a publication, this name of the GenAI is called LeetMap. And input I provide that how climate change impact my study species during my PhD and postdoc called Riley Spiker. It gives me all the papers it could find, and also it shows what kind of information other paper which I referred in my publications in a map format. And also I checked the metadata by downloading the CSV file. There are a few information missing, but I found most of the information which or the articles they showed me as relevant article are actually correct. But then if you are working on systematic reviews for which metadata is essential, then there might be issues. Another platform which I checked called Consciences, I asked the same question. It gives me a very nice summary of the information on the topic. It also gave me detailed information about each article. It showed me that where I can go and who wrote it, how many citations it have, and when it got published. Again, I downloaded the CSV file, and I found surprisingly many of the article which it think that it is actually relevant to the topic which I asked the AI platform to give me response are actually irrelevant, because those papers, I'm very much aware about those papers. They are nothing to do with the species or Himalaya, where my study species or the question is relevant to. Those are from either Canada or United States. Only one thing, the word which is common there is the word climate change. So it combined together with Himalayan information, with Rocky Mountains and Canadian Rocky information together is a mixed bag of information and projected as a correct information. Therefore, as I mentioned, the responsibility lies with the user to verify and cross-check what information each of these GenAI is giving as part of the literature review. Sometimes GenAI also been used to find research gap. For example, this Kahubi or Avid Note, we tested that for research proposals. And I asked these research proposal function in Kahubi that what are the potential future areas in climate change in India, thinking that, oh, I'll submit a research proposal for funding. It gives a very nice document summarizing various different areas. And one thing was striking because some of the section for here, you can see the water resource management indicated as one of the area where there is more uh, research is needed. However, when I looked at what kind of suggestion they are asking me to provide as a research gap, I am very aware many of those suggestions have already been well researched. So therefore, again, user have to be mindful if they're using GenAI to find research gap. The research gap projected by GenAI probably little misplaced. So we have to cross-check once again. I checked another one in recent past called Borium. This particular GenAI platform, I asked them to give me a literature review on challenges faced by authors from developing country to publish articles in international peer-reviewed journals. Is give me a summary of information. And when I cross-check the first commentary, it indicated as resources. It indicated me a particular platform or journal called QS. And I was very curious because I was never heard of this particular platform or journal. So I went and cross-checked what is this QS journal. And I found first time, I was always aware about peer reviewed, but here it is considered as peer approved. The way this particular platform is working is they use AI to find appropriate reviewers, and people provide 0 to 5 particular marks, and those anybody who get more than 2.5 marks from their colleagues, their paper get posted here. Now, I was not very sure when I read through each of these comments, because many cases I have checked the articles which receive the peer approved status, the comments are very, very limited. So I was not sure that how much I should trust the information about the holistic nature or generalistic nature of the information. So I use my own understanding to either select or reject the information suggestion provided by the GenAI platform. So again, as a user, even though GenAI platform give you certain information, it is on us to find appropriate information, appropriate journal to find the right quality information. Many of us also use Scopus. Now, Scopus also have inbuilt AI query builder, which actually help us to build the query. We do not have to think what should go at the end and it gives us information about a particular topic, and then we can filter out. However, Scopus also have Scopus AI function. Now, Scopus AI function, I asked them what are the ethical challenge of using GenAI in higher education and research. It's give me very nice summary. I have to tell, it's very compelling to get such a comprehensive summary table as part of the query. But when I checked the references, I found the reference, but I'm not sure from where they got the information. What they're saying is coming from those particular references, because many of the articles which are listed in Scopus is not accessible directly because those are only subscribed. Because as I am not sure the source of the information, accuracy of the information GenAI is giving, those information I could not use in my literature synthesis. So therefore, the observation regarding ethical challenges, many results could be non-relevant, abstract could be missing, may not be comprehensive. If you're working with metadata and our systematic review, be mindful about quality of number of citation references, if they're accurate or not. Some cases, they summarize very close to the original source. So you may be accused of getting paraphrasing plagiarism, and it sometimes may not reflect the study outcome accurately. Another thing is often unconsciously we add our email ID to access certain AI, but many of us actually do not check those terms and conditions of each of these GenAI platform, to which extent they are going to store our information, email ID, to whom they're going to share that, how long it will be stored in that particular platform. So those information also be sometimes are very crucial before you add your email IDs or give these platforms to access your email ID. There could be also copyright issues. For example, American Urological Association, the Journal of Urology, the moment you open the journal page, it clearly states that the users have been prohibited of uploading the content, which are actually the articles from Journal of Urology, directly uploading into any AI platform. So therefore, there are copyright issues. So be mindful about when you are using GenAI. There are also many similarity detection tools, which are often known as plagiarism detection tools. They also claim that they actually detect if some sentences or paragraphs are human written or they are AI written. But the problem is, most of the cases, there are reports of false positive when it happened that the false positive happened when a flag human writing as generative AI tool written. And also people have found often people who have English as second language and flagged by AI detection tools, or people who are into neurodivergent, those areas, they face problems because sometimes there are repeated phrases and terms. Even though human have written it, but it's falsely flagged as false, as a positive for AI written content. False negative when the AI generated text considered as human written text. So therefore, one have to be mindful about interpreting those informations, because often they come as 5%, 10%, 20% when you run your document in the text similarity checking softwares. Those often may not be accurately telling you how much AI, how much this document is having the AI generated values. And it is particularly important for the educators because often lack of detailed guideline for the educators make them be in a helpless conditions that my student gets certain amount of AI indicated, AI written text indicated in the assignments, how I should deal with it, right? So we need more discussions and a better understanding about how to deal with both false positive and false negatives. Also, GenAI can be used for generating images. Here are examples. So I submitted one of my openly accessed paper and I asked them for graphical abstract. It just merely give me 2 images. Then I changed the input in Midjourney saying, okay, the particular abstract focus on plants as well as small mammals is randomly gave me a squirrels looking animals picture. However, the expected outcome was spiker and the plant. Similarly, I checked also same platform with the permission from the corresponding author here, and we uploaded this freely available article. And this particular paper was focused on yeast. However, the output they gave us looks like nerve cells, and the expected output you can see below. Some cases, even if you don't you are not mindful, based on the training data set, each of these GenAI has, it may create biases in about the data it generates or the image it provides, because many cases these training data set of these GenAI are very Euro-American. So the output what they provide is also very much linked with Euro-American culture centric. And the result, if you're not mindful about GenAI related images, it can result into the retraction of articles. For example, here you can see one of the leg below the knee, there are 3 bones instead of 2 bones. Somehow this has been passed through the publications, later got detected that there is a problem, and this paper got flagged as AI generated issues and paper got retracted. This another example where Midjourney has been used, and the particular paper focused on spermatogonal stem cells. However, the organs are disproportionately big, and this paper get also rejected, not rejected, retracted after publication in Frontiers in Cells and Developmental Biology because it's not reliable. And one of the famous sleuth in research ethics and integrity, Dr. Elizabeth Bick, says that paper actually is a sad example how scientific journals, editors, and peer reviewers can be naive, possibly even in the loop in the terms of accepting and publishing AI-generated crap. Yesterday, when I was teaching the stem cell ethics to a workshop, I wanted to have a image where there people are discussing about the fact that stem cell research regulation varies across countries. It may be available certain areas, may not be available certain other areas. So when I use Gemini to create such image, suddenly I noticed the image look nice, but then there is somebody's name has been indicated, which is here, Dr. Sarah Jenkins. And I was very curious that I did not put that name as the input, from where it got it and why it got it, because effectively it's misrepresent the entire information as if Dr. Sarah Jenkins is saying all this information. So I searched through who is Dr. Sarah Jenkins, and I found, even though it's a very common name, indeed there is a doctor, medical doctor in UK who works on women health. And when I searched through her website, I found there are certain keywords such as embryo, such as women health, and probably the Gemini picked her name because of those keywords. So one have to be mindful about the fact when you're using GenAI that it may add additional information which not even there in your input script when you're using GenAI. Therefore, there are ethical challenges using AI and generate image from text, because there is not necessarily always there will be accurate representation. There might be copyright infringement, there might be disclosure of user privacy issues, and always remember responsibility lies with the user. Also, there are platforms like Artlist or Suno. These are the platform where you can actually pay the price and they can create different kind of image, videos, as well as you can create songs. But one have to be mindful that many of those sources might be already IP protected, and there might be copyright violation or data sharing law violations. So when you're using that, be mindful about the fact what it is giving you. It should not violate any of these provisions of ethical standards. One very common discussion I keep hearing last few years is, because AI and GenAI become so strong now, they can perform many different difficult tasks and very fast. So should the AI get authorship or not? COPE clearly stated that it should not get authorship because it cannot take responsibility. When I checked International Committee for Medical Journals editors, it also clearly states chatbots such as ChatGPT should not be listed as authors because they cannot take responsibility for the accuracy, integrity, and originality of the work. And these responsibility form essential qualification to be any person to be an author. Also, there is interesting case where scientists have found that many people add hidden text, AI text in white ink in documents, and they submit that for submission for review. And those AI text actually indicates not to give, if it is actually peer review done through AI, it clearly states to the AI that do not give us a negative review or very strong review. And that's the reason it is very important to understand that AI in peer review is a very big discussion terms, and most of the cases, for example, in Elsevier or in Springer, is very clearly written that editor should not, or the reviewer should not use AI to do the review, because peer review, because many cases this document which you are uploading in the AI platform to do the peer review, those are unpublished data, and there might be violations of copyright. And finally, I'll talk a little bit about various different kind of stereotypes which has been already been reported, which create also ethical concern in AI and generative AI. Many cases, what UNESCO report found, there are narratives which varies between genders. Often men are giving high status job, whereas women are often given as jobs like domestic servants, cook, or even prostitutes. There might be, depend on the algorithm the AI is trained on, there might be homophobic attitude, racial stereotypings, or cultural bias. For example, they also found instances where British men were assigned varied occupations, whereas Zulu men, who are primarily from South Africa, assigned occupations such as gardener and security guard. And I was very curious because I'm not much aware about Zulu culture. So I searched in internet if there is any physicist or any big educationist, singer, author from that particular culture. And I found there are many. Even you do a simple search, there are many. For example, here is Professor Alfred, who is not only a big or very successful physicist, but also director for Center for Theoretical Studies of Physical System. That means depend on the training data set each of these AI has, the output can also be biased. And those biasness can then have a rippling effect in various different kind of decision making, from recruitment to disproportionate unemployment. If the AI is trained primarily for the men, they might exclude women from it. They might also have political influences. So one have to be mindful about these biases. Another recent March article also indicate that there is a growing number of papers which reports users who actually keep using AI very regularly, in very frequently. They started picking up the writing patterns of the AI. Also, sometimes these particular study in Science Advances journal also find that people who are using the AI depend on the AI's belief system. Often their like I meant the users' belief system can also shift about various different kind of socio-political topics. So the ethical uh, issues related to AI and Gen AI is quite vast. It's not only restricted to only publishing, but also can have long-term rippling effects in various different other spheres. So therefore, ethical problem is linked with not only bias, copyright infringement, not unclear, and there is no clarity regarding user personal data, or if it's a truth or not. But it primarily indicate it's a mixed bag of problems, but then only with mindfulness and clear training, probably, and discussions, we may be able to overcome many of such challenges. So many of articles actually now, even the journals also do have suggestions about, before submitting to a journal or anybody's manuscript, one have to be mindful about AIs and how it has been used in this particular paper, about plagiarism, about the data quality, and what is the current guideline, because AI guidelines is constantly evolving, because the field of generative AI and artificial intelligence is also evolving. So be mindful about what are the current extent knowledge and the guideline available for every person in that particular area. That probably help you to understand what is expected out of you as a user, as a writer who might have used AI in your work. In recent past, we received a particular project fund from DBT Wellcome Trust India Alliance to understand research integrity and regulatory compliance challenges faced by life science scientists and researchers around India. And as a part of it, we actually created a website. This website, we also have a teaching resource, because we acknowledge the fact that the amount of teaching resources available, particularly in Global South, in research ethics and integrity is limited. So you are most welcome to visit this particular website. And we segregated various different topics in research ethics and integrity as well as regulatory compliances. And when you go each these particular website, you will see under various different topics, for example, plagiarism or use of AI, there are guidelines, there are videos, there are games, all are segregated under different tabs. And you're most welcome to utilize this resource. I am available over email. This is my email ID, as well as I'm active in LinkedIn. So anybody who want to connect over LinkedIn, you're most welcome to do so, or do write to me if you need any help, or if you have any suggestions, you're looking for collaborative work opportunities, please do drop a email. And I think we now have questions time. We have around 15 minutes for question and answer. I'll just stop sharing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sabuj, for that broad and detailed, not detailed, but I'd say pretty much touching on every aspect of use of GenAI in research and in publishing. We have several questions, and
Yes, I
just
need your help too,
yes,
because I
I
could
will,
see
of
51.
course, of course. So
Yes,
I will read out some of the questions. Meanwhile, I was
yes,
wondering, would you be sharing this set of slides with us, or at
yes.
least
So
links?
what I can do is,
Because
yes. So what I'll do is, I'll after the talk, I will email you the bibliography of all the links which I
sure,
have presented here. So it will be a list of all the information so that
excellent.
I can share that with participants.
Sure, participants are curious about
Yes,
that as well. So,
yes,
first question from Vidhi Goyal. How
yes.
can students use generative AI ethically in
Hmm,
research
hmm.
without compromising academic integrity?
Yes. So I think, thank you so much, Vidhi, for the question. I think it's probably start with the fact that we first need to train our trainers, who are the teachers, so that we have the discussions. Because in my institute, the thing which we follow that we don't say don't use AI or generative AI. Rather, we discuss with them which purposes GenAI can be used. And if they are not mindful, as I give you many examples, what can go wrong. So at the moment, we talk about GenAI as a part of research and publication ethics course. And one of my colleague, Professor Bhalla, also talks about AI, evil and good, where students who are very technical minded, they actually create their own algorithms and things, they play with it. So we give students option to explore AI. Through that learning, they learned to what is actually allowed and not allowed. And systematically, what also we do, if there is a new guidelines coming up from government of India, which they need to comply as part of their PhD, we also inform them, or we also do discussion forum with the students.
Thank you, Shabuj. Okay, here's another question. Thank you, Haptamu, for your question. Haptamu asks, he provides some detail of a situation and then asks a question. We use AI detection software to check manuscripts that are submitted to our journal. The software, the AI detection software provides a percentage that is
Mm,
detected as likely AI generated text that
mm,
was also likely AI paraphrased.
mm.
Yet the software also advises on the limitations of AI detection before making decisions. What do you advise us concerning the use of the detector, the decision to be made, and about AI detection capabilities? Is there a
Yeah.
percentage that is typically allowed?
No, so actually, for example, the percentage is very, for example, many people use a different kind of software. So the way they detect the AI, it's based on the algorithm also they are using. If you do a literature search, the percentage people, what they found, if you're using Turnitin, by the way, I have nothing against Turnitin. I don't want to have put the disclaimer. I use Turnitin in my institute also, but people have used Turnitin to test. And what they found is if anything is below 22%, there is a high chance that it might be human written, but falsely indicated as AI written. Wherever there is something which is more than 50% or very higher amount of value which indicated the particular text is AI written, because the magnitude is so high, there is a high possibility that it actually might be written as by AI. But however, what happens in recent past, because I'm also member of European Network for Academic Integrity in policy working groups, many of the policy working group members who are faculty in Europe and Middle East, they also started saying that many students who are very good in English, their writing is now flagged as AI written, which is very unfortunate. But then the policy says, say up to a certain percent, say 20% or 30% or 10% is allowed, but they know their teachers are aware because they are seeing the students writing multiple different kind of assignments. So they know the student might have written the particular assignment, because there is these numbers which gives without much detail about it. It's always a there is an atmosphere of skepticism in it. So sorry, I don't have any specific number in mind, but the pattern based on the literature survey I did, it's indicate if you have lesser number of detection, there might be a false positivity if it's indicated as AI generated. If it's a high number of AI generated text indication, it may actually be AI generated.
Just to extend that a sub question or just an extension, Sabuj. In my training sessions as well, several researchers say, these are Indian researchers, they say that their writing is flagged as AI written, although they have written it themselves.
Correct.
And when a journal sends it back to them, or a book publisher, because several researchers publish their research as a book chapter as well. The publisher sends it back saying this is a very high percentage of AI detection. Is there some kind of recommended guideline that you might have, that your institute has, or from your discussions with others in the policy space, on how a researcher or an author in such a position should address this? What if they have written it and there are false positives and it's coming back to them saying this is a very high percentage and we cannot accept this? What's the best way right now? I know it's evolving. What's
Correct.
the best way to
Yeah,
deal with
yeah,
this?
correct. So, unfortunately, I don't have any specific answer, but let me give you the answer in terms of research ethics and integrity in case somebody is accused of doing misconduct. Okay, so now in India, we have University Grants Commission, which have 2028 guideline, which says for the similarity of the text, when you get accused of doing plagiarism, there are certain value. More than 10, less than 10% is fine, 10 to certain percentage, you have to rephrase it. More than that is a big problem. Now, recent past, what I saw, I have not seen the UGC guideline. The same percentage is now the University Grants Commission in India also linked with the AI detection percentage, which is, for me, it's not so logical. But the way I can go about is because many of us actually create different version of our documents. Now, each of the version of our documents also show how we progress when we are writing this particular manuscript, because each of these document also do have metadata. When it has been created, when the last time it has been modified, many of such information. If somebody has luckily multiple different such version, they can actually provide that to the journal or even institute academic integrity committee, saying that, see, I have created, this is the progression of mine. So I started from here, I have this version, and then it evolved. And that actually gives very clear-cut idea how this particular person starting a particular document from draft to reach the initial draft to the final draft. So that's a little larger answer to it. But at the moment, we don't have the clarity.
Thank you. Thank you, Sabuj. Kimeta asks, how can you identify AI generated text? Could you recommend a reliable plagiarism detection tool? And I'm assuming also, perhaps Kimeta, you can confirm, are you looking for a plagiarism detection tool or an AI detection tool? In any case, Sabuj, if you could answer that,
Yes.
you have
Yeah. So,
recommended.
many of the, see, first, most of the tools they say is as plagiarism, but then they actually do the text similarity. So it's a similar text, available across other places. And many of them actually provide you with the payment of quite a hefty amount of money, a certain AI value, right? So those AI, certain AI value, it's a AI function. So the moment you run your plagiarism checking or text similarity checking, it also, along with the plagiarism or text similarity value, it also give you certain kind of AI text value. So, but that AI text value, if you run in two different platforms, you will say, for example, if you run in a text which is specialized in text similarity platform or a generalistic platform such as Grammarly, it is very, very different because I have done that. So I did that. So one says I have apparently written some of the text, which is very basic text for which nobody actually have to use any AI. And it clearly indicated that I have 8% AI generated. And Grammarly actually indicated that, oh, this is the text which you actually generated, which is very basic methods related sections, which has primarily verbs and nouns for which it can be edited only using grammar. So we just probably have to put a little bit context to it. So, but as the question, there are different kind of softwares or service providers which actually can give you that. In my institute, we do not subscribe to any of the AI checking values because our amount of money resources which we have is limited. Unless we are confident that how we are going to interpret it, we have a standard policy. Unless we have it, we don't invest our money into AI detection values.
Thank you, Sabuj. Alexandra asks, how do we cope with AI-generated reviews?
Hmm.
In some cases, these reviews contain non-meaningful suggestions
Yes,
and comments. So how can we cope with
correct.
that?
Yes. So imagine, so the way you can cope with, imagine that reviewer is the third reviewer who was generally always says a little bit difficult to deal with, often go circular way with the comments, and it happens to every author, right? Your first and second reviewer gives you something, and but then this third reviewer gives you mixed feedback, which you don't know either positive or negative, doesn't fit with the evidences, and neither you can find the evidences in the writing, nor you know exactly very sure what they want. And then probably the way you deal with such reviewer, you can also deal this AI generated reviewer or the review, which is very confusing probably to you, that how to address because it doesn't make sense. You respond to that based on the evidence, the way you will respond to a difficult third reviewer whose comment is either ambiguous or not as per the evidence. And it will be the discretion of the editor of the journal as well as the editorial board because they are very experienced in such situation that it doesn't make sense because then they will go and corroborate the user or author's comment and the reviewer's comment if why there is such a discrepancy and why author is saying that it doesn't make sense because I have not worked on these or we didn't study these XYZ.
Thank you, Shabuj. There's another comment from Kimeta. And I think, Kimeta, I think you raised this issue in one of the other Re's webinars, if I remember. So what Kimeta says is some of these tools, many of the AI detection tools, do the detection only in English. And
Correct?
they do not work with other languages. They don't provide any
Absolutely.
feedback. So are you
Mm.
aware of any tools that may
No,
be,
so no,
because
I'm
many of
not
our
aware.
members, maybe
Mm,
not to a large extent in India, maybe some in
mm.
India publish in
Some,
regional languages, but in other countries, there are members who publish in languages other than English. And
mm,
so how
mm.
do you know whether there's
So
any other?
I don't know actually. So because there are even many people also now, apart from these standardized text similarity softwares, there are also AI platforms. I heard that they are actually offering to detect plagiarism because they also have access to large number of those bibliographic databases. Uh, but I'm not at the moment. I can't remember them. But then I know. Most of the cases, I agree, it's a challenge. In India, we do not face that too much because in higher education, where it is mostly checked, is primarily in English. However, people who are in the social sciences or vernacular languages in India, they also have to follow the same guideline of submitting the plagiarism check, and they face a lot of problem regarding the checking of plagiarism, because for Indian students, they have to submit a certificate saying what is the similarity index value. And many people who study languages, they face this problem. But my background is science at the moment. I definitely looked through it. I am really sorry that I did not check it at the moment. It didn't occur to my mind to check, but then it is a problem. I understand.
Yeah.
Many
Yeah, we've
many
had, I
people.
think, this discussion. I think Kimeta brought this
Yes.
up in another
Yeah.
session too, and even
Correct.
there
Correct.
we didn't have an answer. And
Correct.
maybe Kimeta, it's time for us to go and develop those tools for detection in other languages. But
Or even to
yes,
make a
yes,
probably representation to the companies, to
yeah.
so that they have, because now everything is automated, so they can actually, even as a ease, it's a recommendation to the companies, because every institutes are paying larger amounts of money. So if they can just add those translations as well as the check that, so probably it will be more helpful instead of like developing a new tool altogether. They probably have to do a plugin regarding translation and detecting.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Sabuj. I think we have answered most, but I have one question. I left that for the end,
Yes.
just after everybody else had their questions addressed. So, the survey you showed us the results of a study on AI statements and policies. How much
Yes.
coverage is there in the
Yes, yes.
among many publishing houses?
Hmm.
Did that sample include publishing houses based in countries across the world? Was it
Yes,
restricted to a
yes, yes,
geographic?
yes, yes. For
And
example,
were
I'm,
there, yeah.
yes, yeah, no, sorry. So indeed, it has 166 or 169, I don't exactly remember, publishing houses. Publishing houses means we just looked at Elsevier as a publishing house, or
Mhm.
Springer as a publishing house, uh, Spring Nature as a publishing house, BMC as a publishing house, and 160 of such around the globe,
Okay.
and the
And did
funding agency. I
and
didn't show the
did
results.
sorry, did you have any, did the study reveal any country specific insights or region specific? By that, what I mean is when we say a certain percentage of houses, publishing houses didn't have an AI policy or didn't mention copyright,
No,
were
so
there
what
any region
correct.
specific insights
No,
like
it's
others?
not. No,
No.
it's not region specific, rather than it's the size of the publisher. For example, most of the bigger publishers have very detailed policy, most of
Okay.
the cases. But when it comes to a publishers which are regional or smaller countries, probably publisher only say 20 journals or five very typical journals. So another thing is most of the journals which we checked are primarily in science, not in
Mhm.
other subjects. So it may not represent holistically, but it's primarily, even though many of the publishers do publish science as well as humanities related journals also, but then they primarily, what we found is, bigger the publisher is, often they have very detailed uh, these AI policy. However, when it comes to IP, copyright, which extent the modification, text is very clear. Most of the cases we found text related, that is very clearly written, proofreading, and these are allowed. The moment you
Mhm.
say, can I edit a image? To which extent you can use, or can you reuse somebody else's images edited by AI, or something related to that, videos, those are often not there. Also, another thing which we did found, that most of the bigger publishing houses also do have clear-cut idea about AI and reviewers' behavior, what is accepted and not accepted, which is significantly absent across a larger number of publishing houses, because their policy, authors' guideline or reviewers' guideline, do not talk about how AI should be used or not be used by reviewers. That is largely absent across the globe.
Thank you very much, Shabuch. We are right on time. Thank you for patiently answering all our questions. Thank you very much to our participants for engaging in the chat box, in the poll, and for all your questions. We hope this session was useful for you. And please write to us, and you may contact Shabuch for any other questions that you may have. Thank you, Sabuj, for your time,
Thank you so
for
much.
all the information. If you share the resources with Mary
Yes,
and
I
me
will.
after the session, we can then pass that on to all the participants along with the link to the
Yes,
recording. Thank you to
yes.
everyone for joining us here. Thank you, Mary and Lucy, for helping us with organizing and setting this webinar up. We hope to see you all at another EASE event or the next EASE India event. Thank you and have a good day, good evening, wherever you are. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Bye.